So, do I recommend becoming a nurse practitioner? That's what I want to chat with you about today. And to be honest, I also want to tell you a little bit about my journey as a nurse practitioner. Um, I've been a nurse practitioner for 20 years and a nurse for about 25 years. And um, at this stage, I do really feel like I have some skin in the game. So I want to share with you the truth as to whether or not I recommend someone to become a nurse practitioner. Um, in particular, because, word on the YouTube streets are that, nursing is toxic, and there's definitely a lot of unhappy nurses on YouTube, and things have definitely changed since I've been a registered nurse. And for anyone who's maybe thinking about it, or even if you're not thinking about it, if you're interested in kind of my journey, I want to share a little bit of that here with you today. So, this is more of a chat style video. So, I have a cup of water. I would encourage you to grab a beverage as well. And let's get into it. So, yeah, as I mentioned before, yeah, I've been a nurse for 25 years. And actually, at this moment, I am on a sabbatical. I'm about 2 weeks into a career break slash sabbatical, which one of the things that you get when you're on a sabbatical is an opportunity to reflect. And so, with this time that I've had over the course of my sabbatical, I've had an opportunity to really reflect on my career, and I actually want to spend some more time doing so as well. But one of the things that I haven't shared really with anyone on this channel is that um, one of the primary reasons why I am taking a sabbatical right now is really as a way, it's a gift to myself to celebrate 25 years of being a nurse. Yes, it's a gift to myself to celebrate because, you know, one thing that I realized about life in this journey is that um, sometimes we have to celebrate the victories of our journey. There may not always be someone around who's going to celebrate you or really, value an accomplishment. But if I'm completely honest, for me, this is such a huge milestone. It's very important for me. And I really wanted to find a way for me to celebrate. And, interestingly enough, one of the best ways that I thought of to celebrate this stage of my journey was to give myself a break. So, which is probably funny, but interestingly enough, one thing that I also learned being a nurse and being a good nurse is that one thing you will never be given is a break. And so sometimes you just have to take a break, right? It's not going to be given to you, but sometimes you have to take a break. So I'll just link my last couple videos about taking a sabbatical below if that's something you're interested in. Whether or not you're a nurse, I think they're applicable to you, no matter what career field you're in. And you definitely don't have to wait 25 years to do it. And I would encourage you not to wait 25 years. But for me, I felt like it was a great opportunity for me to just celebrate this phase of the journey. So yeah, the big question that I get asked even today, right, even at this stage of being a nurse practitioner for 20 years is, do I recommend becoming a nurse practitioner, right? And yeah, my perspective is going to be different probably than a lot of the perspectives you might get on YouTube, because I tend to find that a lot of the voice and information that we get are typically from younger nurses or nurse practitioners who've been in the field for probably less than 5 years, and their perspective is valuable, but it's probably just different than what I have to say. So that's a frequently asked question. I guess another frequently asked question that I want to address today is why I chose to become a nurse practitioner. Another one is, why didn't I just go to medical school and become a physician? Another one is, was it worth it? And to be honest, I'm going to answer that one right now. Was it worth it? Absolutely. Becoming a nurse practitioner was absolutely worth it for me. As someone who was a nurse, went on to get my nurse practitioner degree, it was absolutely worth it. And just for context, I graduated as a nurse, let's say 25 years ago. Yes, I'm dating myself, but yes, 25 years ago. And I graduated as an MP 4 years after that. And so, why did I choose to become an MP? And to be honest, I became a nurse practitioner because I really couldn't see myself working at the bedside long term, especially as I got older. And I'm so grateful that I had that insight from the very beginning. Um, when I was in nursing school, and even when I was a new nurse, a lot of the nurses would kind of warn me, and they would say, take care of yourself. Make sure that you don't, sacrifice your health for doing this job, right? Because to be honest, being at the bedside is extremely challenging. And if you're a nurse, or if you know a nurse, you probably know this. But yeah, being a nurse is difficult. It's intellectually challenging. It's a lot of work mentally, but it also takes a physical toll, especially depending on which department that you're working in. And you're a bedside nurse, it can be a lot of physical work. And I worked along with nurses who would tell me, Nicole, you know what? Just be careful. Do not injure your back or injure your body, or end up with knee injuries because of this work that you're doing, because down the line it's not going to be worth it. So as I heard those stories early on in my career, I really took note, and I decided early on that I didn't want to do that forever, and I didn't want to put my body and my mind through that level of physical stress long term. So for me, I felt like for me as a nurse, it was more of a career that I didn't mind doing as I was, younger, etc. But I felt like as I got older, like being a nurse practitioner would be more feasible and more sustainable for the long term. So for me, becoming a nurse practitioner wasn't, because I was in a toxic work environment or anything of that nature, because I hated my job or anything like that. I really loved being a registered nurse while I was at the bedside, but I also saw my future in wanting the opportunity to grow and to expand. I think the other reason why I chose to become a nurse practitioner was because I discovered that when I was in nursing school, I really flourished academically, to be honest. And that was a pleasant surprise to me because, girl, high school, I hated high school. And I was a first generation college student in my family, so I really had no context for understanding what college would be like for me. And I honestly had no idea what to expect. But I found in that environment that I actually did really, really well. I had the privilege and the skill set to be able to establish a strong community of supportive friends who were very strong academically, and we were studying. I was just in my vibe in the glory years of my college. But what ended up happening is I ended up having a community of people around me who encouraged me and supported me and really helped me recognize my gifts academically. And it really gave me the confidence and the courage to feel like I was a good student. In addition to that, I was lucky enough to have professors who also supported me. And I just feel like, it was a time where I was so supported and insulated when I was in college that it was really beautiful, to be honest. But I did have some unique challenges, and probably some challenges that some of you might be facing today. I was a single mother when I was in nursing school, and so in addition to being a first generation college student, I also had real life issues to deal with. I had a child to take care of, and I remember honestly being in nursing school, and my son, who is 27 years old now, I remember when he was 3 years old, and literally there were times when he couldn't go to daycare because he was sick. And I remember thinking to myself, you know what? I'm going to quit. Like, it would get so stressful. I would become so discouraged just because I was overwhelmed that I was like, I don't think I'm cut out for this. I do not think I'm cut out for this because nursing school is a lot of work. And I don't know what anybody tells you, but it's a lot of work. It's extremely challenging. It's going to require a lot of focus and a lot of time, a lot of discipline. But I wasn't sure that I had it. But my instructors would tell me that when he was sick, they would say, bring him to class with you. You're an excellent student. You do well. Just bring him here. You don't have to miss school. You don't have to quit. You don't have to drop out. Yeah. So for me, yeah, that's one of the reasons why I chose to further my education, because I realized I was good at academics. And my teachers, I discovered I was a good writer. I discovered I was, doing well academically, and I developed the confidence to continue that. So for me, immediately after graduating and becoming a nurse, I actually continued my education on to become a nurse practitioner. I didn't really take a break. And so I continued to work as a nurse for the next 3 to 4 years while I obtained my master's degree and became a nurse practitioner. So the next question that I get is, why didn't I just go to med school and become a physician, right? Like, because nurse practitioners and physicians have very similar roles here in the United States. And for me, I'm in family practice. I do family practice. And so I spent most of my career working alongside family medicine physicians. And so the most frequently question I would get from, everywhere would be, why didn't you just become a doctor, right? Why didn't you just become a physician? And I also used to do a lot of career fairs with like teens, and that was a common question that they would have. And so I guess the real answer is truly because I just never wanted to become a physician. I just honestly, that was never a desire that I had. To be honest, like I said, I was a first generation college student. I was not thinking about for one, the possibility of becoming a doctor or anything. That was not, that just wasn't at all on my mind. Even when I was in school, I was not desiring to be a physician. And from what I know from my physician friends, like most of my physician friends tell me that like they have known since they were a kid that they want to be a doctor. Like, so I think like, and y'all, if you're a physician, let me know in the comments, is this something that you've known that you wanted to do like all your life? Because my physician friends, they've kind of told me like they had known since they were kids pretty much that they wanted to be a doctor. So I just think it's something that if you're going to do it, you decide from childhood and you make it happen. Or maybe someone decides, maybe your parents have always been telling you that that's what you're going to do. Or, a lot of my friends are first generation immigrants, and some of them, like their parents, like told them that this is what you do. You become a doctor, and there's just no compromise there. So I don't know. But for me, yeah, the short answer is just I never desired to do it. I wasn't on that path. But I understand the question. So let me answer it in a way to kind of just give you some additional information of why I didn't just go to med school and become a doctor, especially because, now as nurse practitioners, you do have to have a doctorate degree. And yes, I do have a doctorate degree. And so, why not just become a physician? So in doing a lot of career fairs and stuff, I had to actually sit down and I thought about this because I realized that a lot of this came from like people did want a tangible answer, right? As opposed to I just didn't want to. So, and I think the deeper question is why not become a doctor if you're going to go through the trouble of going through and getting a doctorate degree? So let me answer it from that perspective, okay? And I hope this is helpful. So I actually sat down and I calculated out the economics for me as a nurse practitioner, becoming a nurse practitioner versus becoming a physician. And I did this for my students because they were curious, right? They actually wanted to know which would be a better option for them as they were trying to decide on whether they wanted to go into a career in healthcare. And I think it's a very, very wise thing to do is to count up the cost. Count up the cost. And so I would say if you're looking at economics, right, in trying to decide whether to become a physician or a nurse practitioner, whatever the case is, for me, it was economically very, very clear that being a physician was not desirable for me. And specifically because for me as a nurse, I was able to enter into the work field 3 years after starting school. So I became a registered nurse at 21. And so I started being able to earn economically in my career field after about 3 years of school. Whereas my physician friends, who I was in school with, we were all in school together, right? It's the school, College of Sciences. They had about a 8-year trajectory as to before they could start earning an income in their field. And a lot of my friends who were in school, now mind you, consider the demographic, right? I'm in school, we're a lot of first generation college, or we're not the people who had people paying for their school, right? So it may be different if you're in a different economic situation. But for them, a lot of them had to really focus into their studies and help pay for the tremendous economic cost associated with med school and pre-med school, and the amount of studying that's required. And many of them just couldn't work the amount they had to put in their focus, their time and their energy and their effort into studying, and working a lot outside of school just wasn't really an option for many of them for a good 7 to 10 years. So economically, that's just definitely something to take into consideration. And then I would also say that according to the U.S. News report that came out in January, and I will link it below, but nurse practitioner is considered the number one job in the United States. It was reported as the number one job. And so it's a good place to be. And I would say that my career and my experience has definitely been a reflection of that as well. Because I pulled up some data, and it looks like in this country it's gonna cost around $370,000 to $500,000 to go to med school, and we're talking about a good 10 years. And during that 10 years, you're likely to not have your feet and your time in the workplace. So lost wages due to time as well. So, I mean, not lost if that's what you desire to do. If that's truly what you desire to do what makes you happy. But if for the people who were specifically asking me, why didn't I go to med school? Why didn't I become a physician as opposed to becoming a nurse practitioner? I just wanted to be able to give them some tangible answers. And for me, that had a lot to do with it. It just didn't make economic sense for me. It didn't make practical sense for me to lose 7 to 10 years of working when I could actually work, earn income. And at the end, although, definitely physicians earn a higher income at that point, but when you actually add it up all together, as a nurse practitioner, because I had more years working in the field, it didn't really work out that they were making more, if that makes sense, because I was in the field working about 7 years earlier, right? So definitely do what makes you happy. I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I'm just saying everything has a cost and a benefit associated with it. And so, The next question that I get asked is, how am I treated? And if I was happy as a nurse and as a nurse practitioner, because there's so many unhappy, if you're a believer in social media, there's so many unhappy nurses and, et cetera, et cetera. I would say that for me, being a nurse practitioner was one of the most beautiful things that I've done. I've done a lot in my life. I have children and I've been through some things, right? And definitely being a nurse practitioner is something that I don't regret. I've been lucky enough to have a really good career, and I graduated with my nurse practitioner degree and went on to work in a federally funded clinic here in the city where I live. And I was lucky enough to be eligible for loan repayment. And so all of my student loans that I had ended up getting were paid back. And I was lucky enough to work with an excellent staff of supportive medical director, physicians, and nurse practitioners, and really have loved my role and have evolved into the person that I am. And it's certainly a huge part of who I am now today and where I'm at on this journey, right? And so for me, in terms of, if you're wondering whether I recommend becoming a nurse practitioner, if it's something that you had considered, it's a resounding yes. 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 I have loved it. And so, yeah, if you want more information about perhaps my journey as a nurse practitioner or information about the loan repayment program or more details in that regard, just drop me a comment below. Let me know. I would love to share more with you about nursing if that's something that you're interested in. But I recognize not everybody's interested in that type of stuff. So, nevertheless, thank you for joining me today. Till next time, bye.